So make sure that you have your notebooks ready. You're going to add into the chat when you're hearing something good. And that's really it. I mean, Trent's a guy that really doesn't need that much of an introduction because he's going to blow your faces off. It's going to be amazing. So Trent, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Boy, I love this. Here's one of the things I love about this new digital age. Speaking just at Team Canada this past weekend, is that it only hit me there. And I've been doing a lot of these for a long time. Not video chat like this. I love that we're doing this now. Hear me right. I would have way rather to have been in Calgary, like seeing my friends. I'm from Canada originally. It would have been so great to see Team Canada. And be able to give hugs and high five people and have random conversations with people that I normally would not get to. So I was a little sad, a little grief, you know, just in the sense that I can't travel right now. You can't travel right now. We can't see each other and hug. I won't get to see it at your kickoff. That said, anybody here a fan of the Front Row Foundation? Anybody here like to sit in the front row when you're at places? Like you go to like a concert, like, man, the front row would be so epic. Like you can't even buy those seats, right? But on today's branch call, you all get a front row seat. And that was something I recognized with 55 people participating at the kickoff for Team Canada. Everybody had a front row seat. And I got to be literally like 4 feet away or however close you are to your camera away from each of you. So there is a certain intimacy that we got to experience last week at that conference that I've never experienced before at a kickoff. I can only imagine being at some of your conferences coming up that will be digital, be virtual, that there'll be even more people and even more opportunity to have a wider front row, and yet everybody will feel like they're really close to, you know, Earl Kelly or whatever. So really blessed to be able to come to you today, folks. I'm based out of Philadelphia area, so South Jersey here, where I've been locked into my house for days now. You know, the days, like, what day is it? I'm like, it's Tuesday. So like, I'm just trying to remind myself about what's real. And here's one of the things I noticed super real is that we have amazing young solopreneurs, young entrepreneurs that have waited for this time. And I really do believe that this is a unique opportunity to be a solopreneur. And it's not the one that you've been planning or preparing for, but it is the one that I think that you're ready for. One of my functions, one of my roles is the training and leadership development managers. I get to speak to managers across the country, but I also get to speak to our manufacturing leaders. And we have a group of facilitators up there, up in Olean, where I got to speak to them on Thursday. And folks, keep in mind, they were in the middle of like a 5-day lockdown, 5 days where they shut down the factory. And by the way, we're totally paid, which is crazy because we're like the company that lays people off and pays them, you know, anyway. Privately held, man. The owners are doing an amazing job right now. And speaking to this group, I said, man, I can tell you this, we've got your back. Thank you for having our back. Thank you for letting us sell at half or whatever that we're at right now. Thank you for taking care of us and making sure that your district and division managers all have their pace bonus and their full bonus for March and April. It's amazing the way they step up. I said, I want you to know we're going to find a way to sell Cutco this summer. And we have a fine tradition, folks, of finding a way to make it happen. So this is crazy, but also we're equipped. Now, even if in your office, let's say you're not benefiting from being part of Wasserman's division where they've been doing virtual for a while, or Trembler's done a lot of virtual, you know, or Damien Scott has done a lot of virtual. You're not. But this thing, just because it's in the box doesn't mean it's new. We've had this virtual demo thing. We've had virtual recruiting and virtual training for a while. And here's what I love is the fact that when you have to, you become really great at stuff. You notice that? There's like a nice to or need to. If I get into nice to versus need to, when I need to, I can find a way. If it's nice to, I might not get to that. That was actually probably the first time I remember that being a real challenge is when I opened up my branch in 1995. And I noticed that my to-do list never got to zero. And all these years later, it's still never been to zero. It's 25 years since I branched, and it's never been to zero. And you actually have to go beyond getting comfortable with that and almost embrace the idea of the fact that I can't get it all done. All these nice to boxes won't get checked, and I have to be okay with that. You know what gets checked today are the need to boxes. Anything that you consider a need to will get done. Anything that's a nice to maybe, but certainly not when the bullets of the summer are flying. So can you start to sort out, in your early 20s, some of you teenagers, branching as a teenager, sorting out what is nice to versus what is need to. Anything that needs to get done will get done. So for a long time, I think that virtual recruiting or virtual program was a thing. It's been a thing for over 10 years. It was just treated like it was a nice to. It'd be nice to get that at some point. Well, now we've shifted the goalposts, and now it's a need to. And what I shared with this group up in Olean is I said, you want to bet on a group? We're going to figure this out. Our best minds are on this. In fact, many of the faces I'm looking at right now, you're going to innovate within that program. In a world where we normally say, don't think, just follow the program, we're actually saying, if you guys could think, that would be awesome. We're empowering you to think. But the challenge is we got this inner game. And even right now, here's what's interesting is that this topic for this date is the same thing I would have covered last year on this date as I'm going to cover today. Now, our circumstances are probably going to have us view this content in a different way. And that's appropriate, right, for our circumstances to kind of filter what we see. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I just don't want to cause any alarm. When I start talking about the inner game, that's the thing I would talk about last year. I was at the Northeast SC1. I was at the Eastern Region SC2. That's something I talk about a lot. So if you see Trent Booth next year, I'll probably still be talking about that. The biggest thing that we need to work on is ourselves. Our greatest challenge going into putting the finishing touches on your preparation is working on yourself. The inner game. Now, if you've read the book by Timothy Gallwey, The Inner Game of Tennis, it's not really a book about tennis, although it's totally a book about tennis. It's really not about tennis. It's all about winning that inner game in your head. So if you heard me speak before, you'll probably say, hey, he's repeating himself. And I'll probably repeat myself next time, because just because I taught it doesn't mean you got it. Just because you heard it doesn't mean you figured it out. Or if you figured it out, hey, maybe you need to figure it out in a coronavirus 2020 spring, and say maybe there's a new context, a new way to apply the information that you have. And when it comes to emotional intelligence, or if you hear about EQ, here's one of the things I love about EQ is I feel that was what Vector had been teaching me since 1993. Even though I didn't have that label, that term, emotional intelligence or EQ, until the last 10 years. But it's been a thing I've been studying my whole life. When you're a new rep and you do a demo and they say, no, I don't like the handle. You're like, you don't like the handle? What do you mean, Grandma? My grandma didn't like the handle. What the? Like, that's a thing. I'm like, wow, she's the only one to this day. Everybody else liked the handle except my grandma. And my grandpa was like, Patty, he's like, he needs to learn that the world's hard. I'm like, the world wasn't as hard as Grandma. But to get over the no, how do I deal with rejection? How do I overcome the fact that doesn't feel good and everything in my body says, you need to stop. You can't run another step. You can't do another demo. You need to stop. And me then, as a 19-year-old college student, having to figure out, do I stop? Because everything in the body says I need to stop going. This is causing pain, and I don't like pain, so I need to stop what's causing the pain. You know what's causing the pain is this knife thing. And I had to overcome that. And in fact, I went on record at the time. I stand by it today, all these years later, 27 years later. I stand by the statement. I learned more in my first month selling Cutco than I did of all of my post-secondary years of education, informal education. I stand by that now. Learning how I navigated no and navigated difficulty, man, what a gift. What a gift to figure out what you do when your body says no, you can't. And you go, actually, body, we totally can. We can actually keep doing this. So how do we overcome that? How do we play that inner game? The biggest challenge right now, in fact, the biggest challenge, I'm going to say any given day, is to be aware. Our greatest challenge is to be aware. And this is what's so frustrating is that you know what to do. If you're having a tough day, you know what to do. In fact, if we were to unmute, I know this is playing with fire, and Shelby's probably going to chastise me later. She'll be like, you never unmute everybody. You don't do this. I'm going to try this, and we'll see what happens. If it fits, great. So if I was to say, if you catch yourself having a rough day, a rough moment, a rough patch where you wake up and go, I've been housebound, I'm doing finals, I'm doing bridge prep, I don't even know if I've got a lease signed or I've got one I could sign, but we're not signing it. This is a confusing time. I don't know how I feel right now. In fact, if I'm honest with myself, I'm not as awesome as I want to be right now. If you check in and you're anything less than awesome, you go, oh, actually, I'm on the negative side of the emotional wheel. If you caught yourself in a rough mood, a rough patch, what would you do to get out of it? When you notice you're in a bad spot or not feeling awesome, how do you self-regulate? How do you get through it? What are the life hacks that you employ to get out of that one emotional state to put yourself in another emotional state? If we were to just check in, we can do this on chat or we can do this by the unmute. If I was to just ask, what do you currently do, or what have you done in the past that's been effective to get you out of the funk, to get you out of the bad spot? If you want to wave your hand, give me jazz hands, right? You can give me a little jazz hands. And, all right. Aubrey, if we could unmute you for a second, what do you do? What's your life hack? How do you get through that?
What I do like when I'm in a rough spot is I kind of just like step back from like wherever I am and just like step back, take a minute to like breathe and like, okay, what do I do now? And just like get out of bed and then focus on something else and then go back to the hard spot. So it's just
okay. Boy, you're describing what I would call kind of pulling out of the grind, take a look around, and before we reapply, right? So it's like, okay, let's just take the head out of the grind for a little bit. I flirted with Ironman training for a little while. I did a half Ironman, and I trained in a pool which had like clear water and no people swimming over me. And I could see a black stripe along the bottom. So finding my direction in the pool was easy. In the lake for the actual 1.2 miles, I couldn't see the bottom. In fact, I couldn't see more than anything in front of my face because it was all muddy water. It was a man-made lake, and people were swimming over me. Every time I looked up, I was swimming away from the beacon, and I actually added, I'm going to guess, about a quarter mile to my swim because I was always off pace. Aubrey, you're describing the idea of coming up, take a look, finding the buoy, and correcting so I can swim back at the buoy, and then reapply. What a great move. Stop, take a pause, take a look around. You said breathe, which I love. By the way, you've got 2 hacks in there, right? If all you did was breathe and didn't even think, I think there's value to what you're saying. Just breathe for a second. Just give my brain oxygen that it needs. Pause, right? You're not you and you're hungry. Snickers knows what they're doing here. They're doing a commercial based on this very same principle of just breathing. Take a minute. Maybe you need some, I don't know, glucose in your body. Maybe you need some blood sugar. Pause, breathe, and then reapply. So not just working hard, but hard and smart. It's one thing to know about this. It's another thing to function in this. Just because you know it, and this is one of the reasons I'm so excited for you, Branches, is you get to experience this on a whole nother level this summer. It's not just knowing what to do, it's actually functioning in that. It's actually doing it. It's closing the gap between what you know you should do and what you actually do. So great job.
Oh no. Hold on. We will get him back in a minute. Where'd you go, Trent?
Jan heads, if you can still hear Trent Booth.
Oh, you just came back.
Great. I just came back. Okay, I'll take it. So I was calling on Kennedy to talk to me about moving your body. Walk me through that, Kennedy. What do you do when you hit the wall?
Yeah, so sometimes I get very focused on one thing or I'll get frustrated over one thing. So again, taking that step back and breathing. But I find for me, like physicalizing, doing something with my body, whether that's exercising, going for a walk, dancing, literally stretching, anything. I'm a musical theater major, so music and dancing are a big thing for me. So I rely on those two. But I also know that I get a lot of energy from my family. So if that means I have to take a break to have a family dinner or call my parents or something, that's like something I'll go to.
I love these. All right. So moving your body, literally changing your perspective because you've moved counts. Kinetically moving your body moves because that counts. You might even listen to the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. You might listen to some angry music to get you out of, you're like, you know what, here we go. It's this little musical theater reference, geek reference right there. Not a deep cut, but decent, right? So I'll put some like straight metal on, like music that if you were to meet Trent Booth and then hear the music, you might go, dude, that's Screamo. Are you sure? I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's what I need. And then you mentioned family, phone a friend. Oh, can I even tell you, folks? It is so underrated to just call your family. You know, one of the things I've noticed, my daughter is Kennedy's age, and she's went away for her freshman year as well. Coming back, though, you know who we get more time? We've got 2 other teenagers in the house. You know who we spend the most time with right now? Is the college student who actually now appreciates hanging out with mom and dad, who apparently got way smarter over the last year. She really likes hanging out with us. I don't know. But what's fascinating is for me to connect with my old man. I became way better friends with my dad when I moved out of the house. And with my mom, just to take a moment, pause, connect with somebody that's got some wisdom, they got some perspective, and they got my back. Big move. Connect with some family, even hanging out with that younger sister, that younger brother that used to bother you, but now you're like, it's kind of actually fun hanging out with you. Like the hardest thing that happened to them was, I don't know, Fortnite crashed or something, or their TikTok video didn't go viral, it flopped, you know. But hanging out with people that you know, man, underrated. Let me even take it one further, okay? Because my buddy was Angie Buckingham back in the day. She's now Angie McDougall. She runs Canada. For me to have known Angie for 26 years, and it was if we had a rough day, here's an old reference. Many of you were children, like infant newborns, when Who Wants to Be a Millionaire debuted on television. But there's been enough reruns, you've seen it, right? But they had this lifeline where it was phone a friend. And I would legitimately come out of training. It came to the point where I stopped being surprised by being just emotionally depleted coming out of the training seminar. And I would just schedule the call with Angie. I'd be like, Angie, I want to just scrap the entire seminar. I hate my team. I want to fire them all. She'd be like, I know. Suck it up, Buttercup. I'm like, I know, you're right. she would talk me off the ledge. She'd be like, dude, and fortunately, I don't think we ever had a bad day at the same time, or if she was having a bad day, she switched pretty quick. She pivoted, and she would bring me back from the brink. So having a friendly voice that'll bring you back, folks, don't do it alone. I just watched Zombieland Double Tap this weekend. Like, never refuse help. That seems like a good rule. It seems like a reasonable rule in a zombie apocalypse, in COVID-19 apocalypse, or Branch 2020. Let's go ahead and just not do it alone. Let's call our friends early and often. Here's what I'll tell you. Do this for me. I started this by saying, hey, what's the life hacks when you find yourself in a bad spot? And I will come back to this. But sometimes you check in and you go, how am I doing? And you're journaling. You're like, dude, I am so awesome right now. Just give me jazz hands if you found this. Even the last couple of weeks. You're like, man, you catch yourself. You're like, I am so awesome right now. Like maybe you just did like a gratitude exercise. You're like, dude, I'm so good right now. Like I work at this company. It was so many of my friends had a job lined up. They had an internship lined up and their company isn't even meeting right now. Or they laid off the guy that hired me. You're like, dude, this is crazy. This is the world right now. And you're going, that's not my world. I actually have a very exciting opportunity that actually some could make an argument just got better. You catch yourself in this place where you're like, I am just beaming sunshine. Here's my question, my challenge to you. What if that is not just for you? What if, Amy, we need you to be sunshine for somebody else's world right now? So you catch yourself in a good mood and now you call Alec. Because Alec might be fighting the shadow right now, or he might be fighting the cloudy day, or just wherever he's at, he's not feeling what you're feeling. So just be like, hey, this is a random call of awesome. Adrian, I'm calling to tell you I love you. That is it. Now, that would be inappropriate for some of you, but I would call Adrian and I would say, I don't know you. Here's what I do know. You're a frontline branch manager, and part of the reason that my family experiences what we experience, I'm a pure employee. I bring nothing into the company financially. All I can do is bring good vibes and love to you, but hopefully justify my existence by helping an Adrian in today's moment. And if I go, Adrian, thank you. Like I'm celebrating frontline workers, doctors, nurses right now, I'm also celebrating frontline economy workers, going out there, stimulating the economy, giving kids an opportunity to work this summer. Kids that if you did not do this, if they did not work this summer selling knives, their parents might not be in a position to cover them financially. They're going to be able to go back to school because you decided to run a branch this summer. Now, I say this every summer, but it has never felt more appropriate or even sober than right now, saying that the work that you're doing is important. When one of the doctors that I follow on YouTube says, hey, you know what else costs lives right now is if the economy goes completely in the toilet. At some point, if those that are young, eventually, once we get on the downhill and we get rid of this, stay in place, shelter in place type situation where we can get back in and young people who can get some immunity, can get back out there and drive the economy. We need to drive the economy too. I was like, man, we can do this. The lines for me have always blurred between mission and vocation, like what I'm made on this earth to do and what I do for work. For me, the lines have always blurred here at Vector. I just love so much the fact that what I'm best at doing, I can do here and get paid to do it. And folks, that's the opportunity that we have in front of us. So as hard as this is about to be, this is the generation I'm looking at right now. You're going to get this. Can I even apologize for just a second? Because we've taught you how to do PDI over the phone, and none of you spoke on the phone before you worked at Vector. I'm sorry. We did not. The best technology we had available when we created PDI was the phone. It was the absolute apex of technology when we created PDI. And then we came up with video chat, but we kept going with the phone. Sorry. We didn't keep up with the times, but now we got to. Here's what's so great. Can you imagine doing PDI over the phone now? I mean, a buddy of mine that I would, up until 2 weeks ago, always talk on the phone with, we just had a Zoom chat. It's not even at Vector. I had a Zoom chat with my buddy. Why? Because I crave human interaction, human connection, and I haven't been getting any. So I had a Zoom with my buddy. We're going to do PDI via Zoom. And it actually could be better than what we were doing before. So sorry that new technology is available and we haven't taught you how to do it. We're going to figure this thing out, and I think we'll be better. All right, so let me pull back. All right, so I've gone down the road. The rabbit trail was, right, talk to me about life hacks when things aren't great. Then I talked about what if life is great. What's the key point there? Make sure that you're spreading the sunshine. If you're feeling great right now, make sure that you're bringing something. You go ahead and post something on Branch Impact. You just even say, listen, I'm just having a great moment. Just in case you're not, I just did this gratitude list or whatever you're just doing. Connect us to your ray of sunshine and be a life ring for somebody out there. Bring somebody back. Your sunshine mood isn't just for you. Be generous, share. But folks, we're talking about what if I'm not in a great spot? We can self-regulate. One of the things that we can do already, we heard Aubrey was talking about pausing, breathing. Kenny talked about moving, talked about connecting with family, phone a friend. There was even more there. If you're to give me jazz hands, if you got one that we got to share and or is a nuance onto something we've already shared, what would you bring? Who we got? If I'm missing some in the chat here, Shelby, you can help me after we get to Alejandro. How am I pronouncing that? Alejandro, you are muted, my friend. There we go.
I actually just go by AJ. It's a lot easier for you.
My Canadian tongue struggles with Alejandro. You're right, but I can say Saucier. AJ, all right, hit it, brother.
Yeah, I just like making a game plan. Very just logical, and I kind of take a step back, like we've already mentioned. But I really just kind of evaluate where I'm at, how I'm feeling, why I'm feeling that way. What's my game plan going into it?
Okay, so you were sneaking. You got two in there too. So far, by the way, all three of you got at least two in there, right? So you're doing two things. Stepping back, yes, awesome, great move. And you asked, why am I feeling that way? No, I'm serious. Listen, this would be easy for us to miss here. This doesn't seem like a nugget. All right, here's what you will naturally do when you find yourself in a weird mood. Because hear me right, sometimes the mood that you're in is not the thing that you thought it was. Like my kid triggered me the other day, but it really wasn't my kid. It's the fact that if I'm good right now emotionally, it's because I'm working hard on it. You know what I'm saying? The natural resting spot for me right now is not awesome. My natural resting spot is anxiety, maybe a little grief or nervousness or whatever. That's natural right now. So when I shift but it requires constant energy to keep that pendulum over here right now. For me, at least. Maybe that's not everybody. But in other words, it's appropriate if I get a little more tired these days. I need a little more sleep. A little less alcohol. I need a little more sleep to keep the energy up so I can keep, no alcohol, but I need more energy to be able to keep the pendulum on this side, right? It requires energy right now. It's okay. But the circumstance in the moment wasn't the real reason I wasn't good. So you asked the question, why am I not good? Here's what I love. For years, I've been talking about emotional intelligence and vector circles. And I've noticed that people naturally ask the question, hey, what emotional state am I in right now? And you check in, you're like, I'm frustrated. You're like, why am I frustrated? Oh, yeah, this is week 4 of not going outside. Okay, I'm going to give myself a pass. It's okay not to be awesome right now. What do I want to do next? You built in planning. Actually, I had a third thing, right? How do I feel? Why? And then what am I going to do? So AJ's like, all right. So sometimes you might check in and go, well, that's dumb. And you can even pivot. right? I know this is a group of, I can't even believe a whole nother generation found friends. Pivot. So you decide that you're going to pivot out of your one attitude into the next attitude, right? You can go, how am I feeling? Frustrated. Why am I frustrated? Oh yeah, COVID, right? Or, oh yeah, whatever that oh yeah is. Sometimes it's as simple as, well, that's dumb. I don't want to feel that way anymore. Pivot. I want to be okay. In fact, what do I want to do? Actually, I gotta write this final, or I gotta study for this final project, or whatever it is. So you can decide to have a new plan. You can have a new strategy. I think that would resonate with a lot of people here, that I gain hope from having the next steps, a strategy. In fact, I'm even going to say this. Sometimes it doesn't change how I kind of feel at my base level, but my mood shifts. I'm going to say that again. Sometimes my base emotion stays, but my mood is shifted. So in other words, I might still not feel awesome, but my mood is like hopeful. Did everybody catch that? Sometimes I'm like, you know what? All right, this is real. This sucks. It's still not sunny, but I know I'm good. And actually, I have a great plan. And there's actually hope in my awesome plan. And I'm saying that you can make withdrawals on that. There's immediate return on investment on that right now. Where you go, man, I got a good plan. It doesn't mean if I'm feeling good, I'm actually going to celebrate playing hurt and playing through the pain. You know what? I don't feel great. I'm still going to do the right thing. I don't feel like studying. I'm going to study because I know it's the right thing to do. Wow. Now we're talking, right? Now, this is very high level EQ, very high level emotional intelligence. When you know the right thing that you ought to do and you do it even though you don't feel like it, you need to celebrate that. And folks, that's no respecter of age, because you and I both know people in their 50s, 60s that know the right thing to do and they don't do it because they don't want to. And folks, we can't succeed in life. We can't have any type of legacy if we're not going to ratchet down with discipline and do the thing that we don't want to do, especially if we recognize this is the best move we could possibly do. So this is one of the, by the way, it's always been the hardest part of a branch, just in case they didn't share it. There's the big dirty secret. The hardest part about being branch is that you've got these emotional, mental gymnastics that you have to consistently do. We just have a couple extra curveballs this year in 2020 for you. Here's what I can also tell you. Dude, 2 years from now, you're finishing your program and you look someone in the eye and you say, hey, they go, dude, you started a business? You, what? So Mary, let me get this straight. You opened a branch office in May of 2020 when I was bunkered in my house, worried about losing my job. You started a business in that moment. You go, yeah, I ran a branch office for Vector. Yeah, I recruited, trained, and developed a sales team. We actually sold $125,000 worth of Cutco that summer. They're like, who does that? You're like, well, I did that. And it's real. Here's what I'm saying. People will really know what you did. Now, it's just a little bit more awesome than what they did last year, or if some of you are returning branches, it might be a little more tricky this summer. But folks, what they won't know is how many more people were looking for work. I'm not celebrating that because it's obviously a terrible cause, but okay, we're going to get more touches this summer. You're the only game in town. When it comes to getting PRs, like the kid who had the really cool like lifeguard job, it's not a thing. And now they're going to work for you, Michael. Yeah. So he's doing the happy dog dance over there. He's like, dude, I'm like, all right. So I'm not celebrating the fact that, like, you know, there's a global pandemic right now, but companies are hurting right now and we're going to give people a chance to work, and they're going to need it. All right. Let's come up for air. Some more life hacks, right? Thank you, AJ. Appreciate that. Show me some jazz hands. I have not all of you, but I got a lot of you. If you got jazz hands here for me. William Parker. Do you go by William Parker? Do you go by Bill? Do you go by Willie? What do you go by?
William, Willie P, Will. Not much of a Bill guy.
Me neither. All right. Will the Thrill, what you got for us?
That's new. So I think someone kind of said this earlier, but pretty much my biggest thing that I do is, you know, whenever I'm just like in a state that I don't know, you know, like I have so much going on. I mean, I just go to someone and vent, just call up a buddy. Hey, I just need to vent to you real quick, let it all out, and then just continue with, you know, what I was doing.
I love it. So I hear you saying, I take a pause, I talk to somebody, I just get the poison out. And it sounds like that's enough typically, right? Or very often. So thank you for sharing that, William. I appreciate that. I mean, Will the Thrill with all the love in the world, by the way. I don't know if it'll stick, but so here's the thought. I've seen some studies done in terms of psychology and sociology. And for some reason, when we as humans talk through what we're wrestling with. So for example, sometimes you're stuck and you explain it to your manager or your mentor, your teacher. And at the end, you're like, never mind, I got it. Like you've explained it. And all of a sudden, as you're explaining it, putting it into linear terms, it went from like in the cloud of your brain, the ether. And as soon as you put it into linear terms, your brain goes, I got it. And you have that Neo in their Matrix moment where you're like, whoa. And you get it. And you're like, and you stop the bullets. You're like, I got this. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I can explain it. It seems more magic than science. But when we talk through what's going on, we process feelings. We process pain. So I saw one study where at the school, they had these students for 30 days. They had the control group. They had another group talk about their challenges with a trusted friend, not a counselor, not a therapist, not a shrink, but just talk about it with a buddy. Hey, just talk about your challenges, whatever you're wrestling with for 30 days, once a day. Right? They had another group do another thing, and that is journal. So one time a day for 30 days, they would write out their challenges. One time a day for 30 days, write out the challenges, the stresses, whatever's causing them pain. And then they had a third group, obviously do nothing. That's the control, right? They had another group, by the way, a fourth group, just think about it. So take 15 minutes to think about your challenge once a day for 30 days. At the end of the study, the people who were thinking about it had more instances of, they had higher blood pressure, they had more instances of illness, they were sicker, they were not doing well and wouldn't describe themselves as having moved forward in any way whatsoever. Folks, when I share this, you go, of course, because you've been stuck in your head before, and I've been stuck in my head before, and sometimes that record skips at the same spot, and I get stuck in my head, and I'm not moving forward. Or worse, I'm telling myself a story in my head that may or may not line up with reality or what's true, but it feels super true. Is this resonating, jazz hands? If this is resonating with you, all right, so I'm on the right track. So we get stuck in our heads. Whereas when we explain it out, so the two other groups that were journaling and talking it through had very similar results where they moved forward. They actually were feeling better because they were talking about it. And here's what surprised me after all this. It doesn't surprise me that talking it through with a buddy would help us process stuff. But that is actually a miracle in and of itself, isn't it? Even if there's no solution. So by the way, if you're receiving it, sometimes you don't need to solve it, Zach. Sometimes you just need to hear them out. Hey, I appreciate you sharing, man. I have more questions than answers. But I'm here for you, man. Sometimes that's the most awesome thing you can say in the moment. You know, sometimes when my wife was wrestling with stuff, she doesn't need me to say, hey, maybe you should, I don't know, whatever the blank is. I was just about to say, well, maybe you should. It's probably not what's most needed. In fact, I'll tell you this. I've never regretted asking, honey, I have thoughts in terms of solutions, or do you just want me to listen right now? And she said, just listen. Just listen. Because sometimes in my brain, I'm like, this is literally the answer I gave you 3 weeks ago. Why aren't you using the answer I gave you 3 weeks ago? Why don't you love me? And it's not about me, right? So she just needs me to listen in that moment. All coming back to the idea that when we share things, when we talk through them, we process it. Here was the big surprise for me. The journal, writing it out. Now, here's what I can tell you. I journaled before I branched, but I really journaled when I branched. Like, I don't know why I felt more on an island than ever before, but at least I had this, I could process it. So maybe I left a message for Angie, maybe I left a message for my mom, my dad, and I'm stuck. I'm like, well, I can get unstuck with this. And I was encouraged to see that the numbers were very similar, whether you talked it through with somebody or journaled it out. Wow. The point is getting it to be linear. It's less scary when you write it out. It's less scary when you face it. Now, I mentioned something earlier. I want to just come back to it for a second because I feel there's a responsibility. I wish somebody had told me this when I was 21, so I'm going to bring it to you. That feels like a pretty good premise, right? That's my way of saying, truly, truly, I say unto you, right? So this is my way of saying, hey, pay attention to this, right? You ready? It's okay to play hurt. In fact, it's even noble to play hurt. I think there's a really positive culture and vector where we play hurt. Like a lot of people would feel as hurt as we do and just step out. They just wouldn't play. In hockey terms, you'd take a puck to the face and you'd ask to go out and take another shift once you stop the bleeding, right? I'm giving you permission to A, play hurt, and make sure you deal with it. When we say play hurt, we're not saying don't ever come back to this. In fact, I'm going to suggest that you come back to it at the next appropriate time. But the next appropriate time is not a year from now or even at the end of the summer, right? So if I'm driving, here's the analogy. I'm driving in my car and the change oil light comes on. I don't have to treat that with the same urgency that I treat the get gas light. You're out of gas is a very different signal than, hey, you need to change your oil. Change your oil is like, I got a couple days. You know, if get gas light comes on, right? I don't have a couple of days. Everybody tracking here? That ends very badly. Now, if the change oil light comes on, I don't have to pull over immediately. I need to pull over eventually. But I got something to do right now. I can make this trip and I can still change the oil a little bit later, even if it's a little longer than the 5,000 they recommend. The analogy I'm driving at here, folks, is this. When I'm feeling pain and I choose to work through the pain and gut through it anyway, it is noble. It is awesome. I mean, it should be celebrated, and you should celebrate the fact that you did it. And schedule time to talk through what was causing that pain. Now, if you were so smart as to write it down in a journal, who else can I talk about this? Hey, here's what I was feeling earlier. I'm glad I worked through it, but I was feeling pretty rough a little earlier. I was feeling this. What do you think about that? And talking it through with Marlena, that's going to make a difference for you. So I'm encouraging you to actually handle the light that came on at some point. The best place in my mind would be your phone a friend, your parents, and or your division manager, district manager, depending on who you're talking to, depending on what the issue is. Sometimes I didn't want my division manager to know I was afraid, so I didn't bring stuff to him. But I regret that now because you know what? I think that my division manager could have handled it. And just because I'm feeling that doesn't mean I suck, doesn't mean I'm not prepared for this. I love that, me too. I love this. I'm just saying, folks, that we got to handle it eventually. Here's what I also know is that something that was not a thing that is a thing now, Facebook group, we didn't have a Shelby Wild Gust. We didn't have a Shelby Wild Gust. So here's the thing. I might have left messages from my parents and from my phone a friend, buddy, and then my journal, and I'm like, I need a human that can smile. Boy, Shelby can be a drink of water in the desert for you. And she's probably available. And I'm telling you, if you text her 911 or put up a 911 message on Facebook, here's what I also love is even if Shelby can't get back to you, the work that she started here, somebody here is going to throw you a life ring. Like, you're not alone. There's no reason that you're ever alone. There's a real sorority, fraternity here in Vector that we can rely on each other. All right. Coming back to, you notice yourself stinking thinking, you notice yourself in a less than ideal mind state. What else can we do? Even if it's a nuance on something we've already covered. Give me some jazz hands, branches, if you have another thought that I've not come to. Mr. Mitchell, Ryan, the floor is yours.
I try and look at the basics. Am I drinking enough water? Am I getting enough sleep? Am I eating healthy? If I'm doing those things, it's not that serious.
Yeah, I love the way you're framing that in. Thanks for sharing that, Ryan. Very true. Jazz hands, if that resonates with you too, by the way. Sometimes I'm like, dude, I just need a nap. I just didn't get enough sleep. Like, I'm not in a good spot, and it's not because of anything in front of me. I just need some rest. I don't know why this was a thing, but I'm giving you permission to eat during training. Even if it's video, you don't have to put the still up to eat. Eat food while you're training. Eat food. I would do day 2 of training with no food. And I don't know why. It's not like it was ever written down in the leader's guide, under no circumstances consume calories in front of representatives. It's not a thing, but I wouldn't do it. So I'd have pump-in training, 2 hours, like 7 to 8 hours of day 2 of training, which means 10 hours with no nutrients. Then I'd hit the wall before my interview / or PDI, whatever is happening next, and feel like a bag of hammers, angry, ready to just tee off and get triggered. Folks, I believe that a lot of our young people, me included when I was 21, we operate like I just got to suck it up. No, your body needs food. Food is fuel. You need some water. You need nutrients to keep you going. I'm going to say this again in a different way. I believe that a lot of us function under the false pretense that we have an unlimited amount of power. Well, actually, folks, our power is limited. It's probably higher than what you think it is, but at the same time, it is also dependent on things like food, sleep, the amount of water that you're getting, and yes, the vitamins and nutrients that you're getting or not getting. Let me also say this. I'll get off because my wife is a dietitian. I'm not a dietitian, but my wife is a dietitian, so therefore I play one on TV. What I'm saying is a lot of you are getting enough calories, but not enough vitamins, right? You're getting all the calories that you need. Your stomach was full. Your belly was full all day, but you not get enough vitamin D. Especially if you're not going outside and getting sun right now, you need to supplement your vitamin D, your vitamin B, probably some testosterone like DHEA, right? I'm just suggesting here, folks, you need some extra nutrients. So if you're not eating high nutrient, low calorie food like vegetables and fruits, and I know I'm making a hard sale here, I get it, then get them other ways. I don't care if you eat bananas or think that they're gross. You just need to get potassium some way. So find another way. If that's a supplement, that's fine, but your body needs these things. So to Ryan's point, why don't we be a little preemptive here? Why don't we plan on nourishing the body so that we don't crash? And I'm not saying have an extra 5-hour energy or Red Bull. Those are actually damaging. You're mortgaging your future. Every time you take a suck it up energy drink instead of actually having a meal and maybe a 10-minute nap in between. Do what you need to do, hear me right, and don't put yourself in a position where you got to have a Red Bull to suck it up, right? Do some push-ups. There's a push-up challenge going on right now. Go outside. I know, okay, you can stay away from six feet from other people, but go outside. It's easy to not to, but it's also easy to do. If it was scheduled 3 times a day, go outside or check in with self. You'll do it. So we might need some extra disciplines right now. Let me take this further. Schedule time to connect with people that you love. So organically, you used to go to the office, just bump into people and have awesome conversations. Well, it's harder to do right now. So do the random text of awesome. Schedule it even, which makes it less random. I know that would be the scheduled text of awesome, which probably wouldn't make a chapter in a book, but reach out to people so that you are connecting. Manufacture connection moments. Folks, we're not made to live alone. I think we're all seeing that, aren't we? Isn't that fascinating? We're not made to live alone. We're not made to do this on our own. So let's manufacture opportunities to connect. Now, folks, I spent so far 45 minutes on the first half of the hemisphere. The inner game is self. The second hemisphere is others. Folks, here's what I know. I'm talking to a group of people that are really smart. Not just IQ, but also EQ. Even if you're just learning today about EQ for the first time, I wouldn't put money on that. But even if you're really learning the business application of EQ in terms of self-awareness and self-regulation, I do believe that this group, if they're aware of how they're feeling, they'll know what to do. They make it personal. I believe that if you're aware of your emotional state, you'll know what to do. If it's not great, you'll try to get out of that state and or play hurt. I know that this is a group that can do that. You've already done it. That's how you got to Branch, right? You had hard days, you had good days, and you got through it, right? The other side of that, though, is recognizing others. And we don't have a lot of time here today, but let me at least envision you a little bit. Folks, there's pros and cons to being in a digital world. At the end of the day, our job has always been to read people. Manage self, right? We almost have no business managing others if we're not managing ourselves. Leading others if we're not leading ourselves. So it might look a little, I don't know, selfish, maybe perhaps for us to spend all this time thinking about self. Here's what I know. If you're in a good spot, you're getting enough food, you're getting enough nutrients, you're taking care of your brain, you're making sure you're feeling good. Dude, people who feel good help other people feel good. And Marty Dimitrovich used to say about taking the position of a rep, make me feel good and I'll perform. He's famous for that quote, make me feel good and I'll perform. Well, folks, if we don't feel good, it's going to be hard to help others to feel good. Or it'll seem disingenuous. It'll seem inauthentic. It'll seem maybe even manipulative. That won't be your desire or goal, but it won't matter. So damage will be done. Let me state this positively. By taking care of yourself, you're giving yourself a shot of taking care of others. If you feel good, and I mean genuinely, you're taking care, you're feeling good, you can then shepherd others. You can take care of others. And folks, they need it. They need it more than ever. What an amazing privilege, but also responsibility this summer to be in your local community, even if it's a virtual community at that, to help people. And folks, a PC, whether you're one-on-one or doing it like this, we're just starting to really discover how awesome it can be. So almost a year ago, Some of you know that I'm also an officiant. In fact, I got to do Shelby's wedding last September. It was pretty sweet, right? So one of the weddings I did before that was for a couple that I'd never met before. They're from Pennsylvania, about 90 minutes away, and it just didn't make sense based on their schedule and mine to get together before the dress rehearsal. So I'm meeting them in person for the first time at their dress rehearsal the night before their wedding. And I went to give her a hug, and it hit me. I was like, oh, my God, I'm just meeting you. Sorry? And she's like, no, it feels like we know you. Folks, the only way we'd ever known each other was like this, literally Zoom or FaceTime. I had about 10 hours of premarital counseling, which is what I do, but we had 10 hours of premarital coaching like this. And dude, I legit knew them and they legit knew me. So that when I met them for the first time, it was super sweet. It was really cool. So I'm sharing this with a group that has largely had their vector context up until now in person, where we can do the, you can read the room and you can feel the room. It's harder to feel the room this way, but not impossible. I hope that you've got the Brady Brunch grid that I've got when I'm looking at Zoom, so I can see everybody, because I'm trying to read the room. For your notes, reading the room is still a thing. It needs to be a thing. Who's engaged? Who's not engaged? What does a person who's not engaged need? In fact, just because they're not making eye contact with their camera doesn't mean they're not engaged either. They might be taking notes. They might be they actually might be the most engaged if they're writing notes about what I'm talking about. So what might be a little different here than in person is certain signals or stimuli meant something different before than it means now. And keep in mind, the people that you're training, they're not used to that either. They're not used to looking at the green dot as being eye contact. They're not. They might be looking you in the eye, but in the eye is on camera, and that looks off. You know what I'm getting at? By the way, we're also sending signals. So let me encourage you. If you're listening to your division manager, your region manager in coming days, practice setting your picture underneath the green dot. So that's what I got on a Mac, right? If my picture's under the green dot, I am narcissistic. I'm just going to confess it, but I don't think I'm the only one. We do tend to see ourselves and look for our face on the camera. So at least if I'm looking at myself and admiring that fine beard that is coming, what a fine quarantine beard, I can look at it and it looks like I'm making eye contact, all right? So at least I'm trying to throw a direct eye line. Even if you're not narcissistic, I'm willing to bet that if you put your picture and drag the thing so that you've got your picture right underneath the eyesight, so you've got a better shot at making eye contact. So here's what I know. If you can get good in this digital age, I believe that even once let's say we're totally away from this. I'm not going to try and predict in how many weeks it's going to be or months or days. Let's say that a year from now, we're totally back to normal. Does that sound fair? Right? It's probably way before that. But let's suppose that we're talking about you branching next summer too. I don't think you're going to lament the skills that you learned to connect virtually. I think this is going to be a thing going forward. I think this is going to stay a thing. Some companies are going to go, we used to spend a lot of money traveling to meet in person. We're going to still do that, but we're going to do it once a year instead of 3. So the other 2 times, we're going to meet like this. And I don't even know if Vector will do that. We're usually a little more aggressive with that. For example, in 2009, the last time we had a major economic challenge, all the other companies in the world got rid of the national trips. All of them. Most other companies don't travel to Paris and then Madrid, or Cancun. Most of them don't do these type of trips that you guys just take for granted as 21-year-olds, which is amazing. Most of them got rid of that in 2009. Our company still does it. The reason I'm bringing this up is that we still might meet in person. We still might do SC1, SC2 in person. But I think that staff meetings might be one of those things that instead of having you drive 2 hours each direction, we might do like this. Why? Well, instead of driving 4 hours today, you can run 3 interviews and still have your staff meeting. But that works better if we've learned how to really connect digitally. Folks, I'm really proud of our group. I'm really proud of this branch class. I believe that this could be our finest branch class ever, but not because it's easy. So I wanted to give a few minutes here. I will give you my commitment that after the 5 o'clock hour, I let my bride know that at 5:30 I'm free. So that's 36 minutes from now. So even though I believe that the recording will end in a few moments here, and I want to commit to respecting your time and will be done officially by 5, I want to certainly be available. But I also wanted to give us just a few minutes, even if it's only 300-ish seconds, to give you time and space for questions, comments, or points of clarification, or just straight mean-spirited insults. Whatever it is that you need to share with these final remaining 5 minutes, I want to come up for air just a little bit. Give us a little jazz hands or a chat comment, and I'll see if I can't come up for air here. Also, Shelby, as a moderator, if there's something that you've seen that needs to emerge, I certainly want to give you time and space for that as well. But Branches, if you want to give me some jazz hands, if you have a question, comment, thought, or insult, we're going to go to Christina Fernandez first. Christina, the floor is yours. Unmute and...
Hi.
Hi.
So basically what really resonated with me was you need to take care of yourself to take care of others, because I'm branching for a second time and I did overestimate the energy I could have without eating and just taking care of myself. And I have 2 assistants that were with me last summer as reps and are going to come back, and do this with me a second time. And in one of our meetings, they actually told me, they were like, there were a ton of times where we thought that if you would have had a little bit more sleep or actually some food in your system, you would have, taken more time to teach us as sales reps. And I feel that really hit home because they noticed that I needed more ammo to being able to actually run the office. So being able to have a staff not only will help me take care of myself a little bit more, but having the self-awareness that even if I don't have a staff, I needed to have been able to, and this goes to the first time branches, you need to find the time to take care of yourself because your reps will notice and they will ask more of you as a person. So
Christina, thank you for sharing that. It takes a lot of courage to both bring insight from personal experience, because to a certain extent you're acknowledging, hey, I missed here, but hopefully it benefits the group. Let me even encourage you, if we had more time, I would see if we could emerge this in the group, but let me just bring it as insight based on what you're saying. Going forward, by the way, what a great job you've done. The fact that your assistant managers are A, coming back, B, that they would bring you type of feedback like that. You're doing something right there, Christina. I'm so excited about the next generation. That's a very high level of leadership. Empower them this summer. Okay, thank you for this feedback. You're right. Food is fuel. I'm empowering you to ask me preemptively, what'd you eat today? I'm empowering you to ask, hold me accountable in a positive way, right, to this truth. I need to eat more. You're right. In fact, if I'm not in a great spot, challenge me, bring it. Here's a Costco case of meal replacement bars. I just had those, not because I was trying to lose weight, but something was better than nothing. And hear me right, folks, you might not have planned for being overwhelmed this summer. I found a way of getting pretty good at taking breaks when I needed it in person. I've not yet found that digitally. Like I go 3 hours without taking a break. I'm like, oh, until I have to go to the bathroom. Like it's harder. I don't know why. It's just newer, I guess. But what I'm driving at is something where you can get that meal replacement down, but empower your people to hold you accountable going forward. What a great thing. And in fact, for us to ask each other, hey, I didn't eat breakfast. How did you do? I have banana and a coffee. Like, no, that's not enough. All right, let's do something here. Or hey, let's make smoothies. Let's do something assuming we have physical space together. But hear what I'm saying, folks, is make it easy on yourself to get that food. It's just the same thing as if you're saying, hey, I want to start working out, have your gym bag packed the night before you go to sleep. So when your alarm goes off, it's easy for you to eat, or in this case, go to the gym, right? Thank you for sharing that, Christina. That's awesome. I'll come up for air with Shelby in just a moment, but any others that were really looking to give feedback here, questions, comments, insight like Christina had, or insults? I think I got that from Legend, actually, Mary. I think questions, comments, or insults. That's an original. That's a Larry the Legend original. I know Shelby has many thoughts here, folks. In fact, what a tremendous example of demonstrating restraint. She's had many thoughts and lots of nuggets. You might want to. I hope you export those nuggets. I'd love to see these. Shelby, what you got for us?
Thank you so much, Trent. This has been really great, and I really appreciate a lot of I appreciate everything that you shared. There are a few points that I would love to highlight, and they're people always ask me, you know, what did you see in top performing branches, or what are things that you've witnessed in coaching branches that you think I should know ahead of time? And a lot of it really comes down to how you're taking care of yourself. And it's easy when the bullets are flying, you've got people requiring your attention and you want to lead your team. It's easy to give up on yourself to give into others, but you've heard it so many times before, you can't pour from an empty cup. And even though you know that in theory, one of the very, very, very common traits, and it happened to me when I was a branch manager myself, is that we don't take that seriously. We go into it thinking, well, that will never happen to me. And then all of a sudden it does. And the reality is, this is probably something, in terms of the branch experience, it's probably one of the most challenging things, if not the most challenging thing that you will have done up until this point in your life. And I'm not saying that to intimidate you by any means. It's so rewarding, and I think you all know that. That's why you're here. But that being said, you probably have never felt real true burnout. Therefore, you don't know the signs and you don't know the things to do to prevent it. But you have Trent, you have me, you have probably your DVMs and your RMs sharing with you the things that they've learned over time, that I've learned, not just for my own self going through it, but also watching so many people in your exact position go through it. So the things like getting proper sleep, eating healthy, guys, let me tell you, my second branch summer, my office is right next to a Wendy's, and I had Wendy's chicken nuggets and fries every single day. And in the moment, tasted great, regretted it afterwards. So things like eating healthy, grocery store, stocking up your office or stocking up your house with healthy snacks. Things like getting exercise. It doesn't have to be this CrossFit style heavy duty exercise. It can be something as simple as going for a walk. I made a comment in the group chat. If you've ever worked one-on-one with me before, you've probably heard me say, make sure you're scheduling at least 3 times per day where you take 15 minutes, leave your phone in your office, grab your keys, and get outside. I don't care if it's sitting in the parking lot and doing nothing, but that mental recharge is so valuable. It has a compound effect. You might not see the value right away, which is why oftentimes you neglect it. Because you're like, well, I could be missing a call, or I need to keep on working, and you almost feel this guilt leaving everything behind to go outside. But like I said, that mental recharge has a compound effect. The same way neglecting yourself has a compound effect. One just goes in the other direction. So if you want to be able to sustain yourself and really give yourself a fighting chance to be the best branch manager that you can be, you have to take care of yourself first. And the small decisions that you make on a daily basis, getting outside, getting better sleep, turning your phone off or putting it in a faraway distance where you can't just scroll and scroll and scroll while you're trying to fall asleep, you know, those kinds of things, they make a huge difference. And so I also always say there really should never be a reason why you are in your office physically or virtually till 1 a.m. in the morning. And so often I'll hear branches during the heat of the summer almost bragging that they pulled a 15-hour day. One of the beautiful things about this virtual world that we're living in is it's actually showing us that we can be a lot more productive in a shorter amount of time than what we thought before. When we're physically in a space where we can drag things on or we can procrastinate. I mean, there's still procrastination that happens in this virtual world, but you can get things done in a shorter amount of time. There should be no reason this summer, unless maybe it's SC2, you've got a really fired up alliance, you just had your team meeting and like now you're having a big team and now everyone's sharing their goals, but there really should be no reason that you're working until 10, 11, 12, 1 a.m. in the morning. Like I remember having a branch call me and was like, yeah, I've been pulling 15-hour days, like team no sleep. And I don't think that's necessary. In fact, I think sleep is so valuable. and being on a good, healthy sleep schedule will do so much more wonders for you. There was actually a study that came out, and then I'm done pretty much after this last point here. There was a study that came out a few years back that said sleep deprivation, your cognition, as in your brain functions and your ability, when you are sleep deprived, matches, if not surpasses, that of being drunk. So driving, for example, when you're tired, I don't know if any of you have ever driven when you're exhausted, but it's terrifying because you begin to nod off and all of a sudden your body wakes you back up as a defense mechanism, thank goodness, but you're like, oh my God, I almost just ran into that car. I used to have to pull over on the side of the road and take 15-minute naps on the side of the highway with semi-wheeler, whatever they're called, driving by me at 85 miles an hour. That's dangerous, but I was doing it because I didn't understand the value of sleep. So recognizing that 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep, that's good. If that's what you need, that's what you need. So I obviously have a lot of passion around this particular topic. Trent, thank you so much for sharing the part about it is not selfish to work on yourself, because you can't lead others if you can't lead yourself. And that's something I'm very, very, very passionate about. So that is that. Thank you so much for giving me the floor for a quick second.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I think we're going to probably stop recording at some point here, folks, but I'm going to stick around after that is over. So I want to give, obviously, all of you the last word here.